Tonight on KGW News, a moment on Mount Hood many will never forget.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that is horrible.
20 years to the day since the heart-stopping crash. Hear how the crew survived. Plus, another local business plagued by crime.
It just doesn't seem to be an end in sight.
Why this local tow yard thinks they keep getting hit. And later, they fought for our country and lost their lives. Tonight, how Portland is paying tribute. Your news starts now.
And thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. First tonight, it's a story of frustration and desperation, and one we are hearing over and over again from local businesses dealing with repeated thefts, blatant damage, and now nowhere to turn, they say, for relief. Galen Etland joins us tonight. And Galen, you talked to one family business that essentially told you they are out of options.
That's right, David. The towing and storage yard company says criminals keep coming back because they know there are no consequences.
They had to get the truck right out from over here.
To Tamara Zelmer, this is more than a storage yard.
My dad, he's 80 years old. He's had the property since back in the 70s.
Her family business, Zelmer Enterprises on North Columbia Boulevard in Portland, is part of a legacy.
There's the truck there. They stole that truck.
A legacy being damaged. On Sunday, thieves took one of the business's tow trucks and drove right through the storage yard's iron gate.
Busted it up.
They have a snapshot of two people in the front seat and say this is not the first theft.
Doesn't seem to be an end in sight.
You can only do so much.
Douglas Barty was lucky and found the truck a couple miles away the next day.
I'm just glad to have it back because this is my livelihood, you know.
He says this type of break-in and theft has happened at least 3 times at Zelmer Enterprises. This other truck has been stolen twice.
You said they cut the latch.
And storage units have been broken into. When they've confronted thieves and called police, officers responded hours later.
Nobody seems to want to do anything about it.
What are we going to do? You know, we can't stand in the middle of the road and tell them to stop.
Douglas worries growing crime, a next-door encampment, and drug use are part of the problem, illustrated by the vehicles he tows.
8 out of 10 cars have needles in them from fentanyl and heroin.
It's a bigger picture than right here.
Tamara says each break-in results in loss of customers. She's begging for a stronger presence by the city and police.
When we've asked, well, what do we do? And they said, well, you need to protect what is yours. He came through here and
the fight to protect a family legacy.
he took the loop around there.
Now, that business is just one that the Zelmers say is feeling that neighborhood impact. They're now trying to fix their gate, which could cost thousands, and block in their trucks and entrances with other cars and cement blocks. But they feel this will all just happen again. David?
How frustrating and disheartening, Galen. Thank you for that story. Well, an update on gun violence tonight because Portland was hit with at least 10 shootings in 24 hours. This map shows locations. They're spread out around the city from Friday afternoon into Saturday. At least one person was killed, 9 injured. Portland police say their officers are stretched thin. Calls like these are taking away from their ability to respond to other calls like the story you just saw. They are hoping people with information in these shootings will come forward. Let's take you to Uvalde, Texas, where Memorial Day marked the beginning of a week of funerals. 10-year-old Amerique Jo Garza was the first of the 19 children to be laid to rest. A memorial also continues to grow outside Robb Elementary with crosses for those 19, along with 2 teachers. And meanwhile, the Justice Department has launched an investigation into the response to that massacre. Investigators say it was the school's police chief who made the call for officers inside the school to wait in the hall before entering a classroom to stop the 18-year-old gunman. On Sunday, President Biden and Dr. Jill Biden visited Uvalde. They spent hours consoling families of the victims. Those who survived, understandably, still grappling with the shock. Teacher Nicole Ogburn is one. She says she shouted for her kids to hit the floor just seconds before gunfire shattered her classroom windows.
I had one student laying on top of me. and I had a bunch of other students right over here by me. And I just remember praying, please God, keep us safe.
Ogburn and her 15 students got out. All of them were okay. The president continuing to push for changes to gun legislation, and while Congress is in recess until next week, discussions between a bipartisan group of senators, we understand, are ongoing. Well, let's take you to Northwest Portland now, where a retired police officer witnessed a serious crash. That former officer, who also happens to be a Marine Corps veteran, knew he had to act to try to save a woman's life. And as Blair Best reports, that particular stretch of road has a history of tragedy.
There was a woman pinned in one of the cars.
It was about 4 p.m. Friday when Steve Harmon and his wife were driving down Northwest Yon Avenue on their way to a family barbecue.
An accident had just occurred. We pulled up, saw it. It looked like a really bad accident.
Harmon was a Portland police officer for 25 years. Before that, he served in the U.S. Marine Corps. When he saw the crash, he immediately tried to help.
It just comes back to you. And then in the military as well. Yeah, I reached in through the window and held her head up so she could breathe. And then once the fire got there, they, of course, extracted her and took her off to the hospital.
Portland police say that's where she later died. Others involved in the crash were not injured.
Just brought back memories of when I was on a job, and it's very sad when someone loses their life over that.
This is just one of 27 deadly crashes in Portland this year. That's according to Portland police. In 2015, the Portland Bureau of Transportation started a Vision Zero program, aiming to eliminate traffic deaths and serious injuries in the city by 2025. But the numbers are far from zero. Last year alone, 63 people died in traffic crashes. That's the highest number in about 3 decades.
The sadness brought me back about a lot of memories I had being a police officer and covering accidents and stuff where people died. And so it was sadness, just one of those things.
Just glad he stepped in. Blair Best reporting. Portland police are asking anyone with information on that crash again Friday afternoon on Yon Avenue to please give them a call. Well, tonight, TEDx Portland facing criticism after adding an unannounced interview with Betsy Johnson. You probably saw her ads during the primary, hard to miss, as she began her run for governor of Oregon. So there are 2 parts to this. One, the fact she wasn't listed by TEDx Portland as a speaker or panelist ahead of the event. And 2, comments she made around her stance on gun laws. Some people in the crowd also grew angry when the host did not challenge Johnson, including after a remark she made that, quote, "The style of the gun doesn't dictate the lethality," end quote. Now, in her response, Johnson said she is a gun owner who represents gun owners in a rural district, and then she pivoted.
I think that we have so divided this debate on gun, no gun, that we're losing track of some of that stuff in the middle ground. And that stuff in the middle ground is, we have, by any definition, a mental health system.
All right, so wherever you land on gun control and gun safety, let's back up to part 1 here, her presence on that stage. Because federal laws say nonprofits like TEDx Portland are required to give equal opportunity for all political candidates to speak if one is invited to talk at an event. But there could be a loophole here. As a non-affiliated candidate still collecting voter signatures, the state still needs to formally approve Johnson to get on the ballot this fall. In any case, TEDx Portland later apologized. Tonight we have another update, by the way, to the ongoing ballot saga in Clackamas County. Thousands of faulty ballots from the primary election are having to be hand counted because of blurry or too light barcodes. As of today, here is the count. More than 111,000 ballots have been processed. That's out of a total of about 116,000. Lots of people work today, 160 this holiday Monday, and that means the county is on track to wrap this up by Thursday. By law, the election has to be certified by next week, June 13th. And across this nation today, Americans gathered to observe Memorial Day with parades Ceremonies and quiet prayer, and in Oregon, people gathered at the Willamette National Cemetery to honor fallen service members. Hundreds were there for the first in-person Memorial Day tribute in 3 years. The event there included a wreath laying, a flyover from the Oregon National Guard's 142nd Wing, a rifle salute, the playing of taps, and several uplifting speeches.
The defenders of this nation have fulfilled their obligations to us. It is now our duty to honor all of the obligations we owe them. We are all charged with this responsibility to do our best to repay the debt that is owed to those who have presented us with our most precious gift, freedom.
It is a steep responsibility, and Scouts in Vancouver honored fallen servicemen and women in a very big way by raising a 20 by 38-foot flag. Just one of several ways people honored those who made the ultimate sacrifice. To all of them, their families across generations, tonight, we simply say thank you. And also this Memorial Day, a Portland mausoleum that only opens to the public one day a year was back for the first time in 3 years. Wilhelm Portland's memorial mausoleum held tours today for the public who can only enter on the holiday the day. Even that, was put on hiatus during the pandemic when it was family and friends only. With the reopening for all, veterans we talked to who were there said they were thankful.
It's a day to remember the boys and the people that lost their sons and daughters. You know, it's a day to memorialize them.
Hundreds of people were in line even before they opened, and over the weekend an estimated 3,000 to 5,000 people came through just to tour the grounds there.